Entrepreneurs heartbeats like a midnight train.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Elite Real Estate Podcast, coming at you live like we do every Friday morning at 7:30. Going to be on KGCI Radio this morning. We're on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, all the places. And I'm super excited about today. I have a special guest in studio. You can see him on screen right now. But Dr. Alex, I'm going to let you take it over, my man. Introduce yourself. Talk about what we're going to get into today, about where you came from, what we're doing, and how we're doing it, my man.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name's Alex. It's Dr. Alex Zayid. I am an anti-aging physician. What that means is I try to reverse the clock from an aesthetic, metabolic, and biologic approach. So in office, a lot of times we'll be doing things like Botox and fillers. We'll be doing laser treatments. All this is going to make you look younger. But really my passion and what we're doing a lot in the office is working with hormones and peptides and kind of just lifestyle maneuvers that can have you feeling, acting, and performing your best, right? So that's the premise of my office and my practice of medicine.
Love it, man. Yeah, and so you and I met because I came in to see you. But no, so and to give everybody kind of like a backstory on me too. So 2023, I turned 50 in 23, went in, was colonoscopy, regular checkup. Then they tell me I had to have half my colon removed. So go in and have that done. Which again, I didn't realize any of that needed to happen. Right. And so then I was trying to lose weight, eat right, do all those things. And then somebody was like, "Hey, have you ever had your testosterone checked?" And I said, "No, why would I do that? Like, I'm fine. I can work out and do whatever." And they're like, "No, that's not why you do it." So that's when I reached out to you and I was like, "Hey," so did all my tests and everything. And then you're like, "Man, your testosterone's really low." I was like, "How? I feel fine. Like, but I was agitated, angry, couldn't lose weight. It could still work out, but not do it."
Well, you felt good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
It felt okay.
And that's the kind of the practice of medicine that is now emerging in the country, and that's optimizing. Okay, so when you go see your primary care doctor once a year, his or her job is to make sure that you're good. Okay, that means all of your labs are normal. That means that you don't have too many aches and too many pains. They'll often ask you in the office, are you comfortable running up and down a flight of stairs? Do you get out of breath doing your normal tired run up and down the stairs, or like my knees are locking or hurt? They tell you, yeah, Jimmy, you're 50. That's normal. If you were to tell your doctor that, my sex drive is 50% of what that was when I was 25, they'll say, yeah, you're 50. That's normal. So everything is based on age appropriate symptoms, actions, feelings, and whatnot, because their job is to make you good. My job is to make you optimal. And you don't really know that you may or may not have been in a bad space until you feel great. And then looking back on good shows you how much better you could have been.
So we bring that up because we always we talk about this from a motivational side, right? From good to great. And, and then I think one of the biggest misconceptions, and we when you and I first met, we talked like men don't talk like this. Like we're not supposed to talk about our hormones. We're supposed to just suck it up and deal with it and toughen up, and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And so I looked at it like this, and I was in the same boat. I'm 51. I'm Gen X. Like we're tough. We were raised outside. Like we were feral, right?
Yeah.
So, but then now that I'm actually doing this and on this hormone therapy, oh my God, I sleep better.
Yeah.
My activities increased. All the things have just gotten better.
You don't know until you know.
No.
So the biggest misconception is, and it's getting better, and I love that. But 2 or 3 years ago, when I was talking to even like my own family members about, hey, you guys need to be on testosterone, blah, blah, blah. The response I would get from all of them is, bro, I'm jacked and I have more sex than I need to.
Yeah.
And that's because in society, when we hear testosterone, we think of Arnold Schwarzenegger and we think of erectile dysfunction. And we think of, those are the only things we think of is building muscle mass and sex. But really, there's so much more to it. Even if somebody comes to me and they're like, I have good energy, I have good sex, and my mood is good, but I were to pull your testosterone and you are super suboptimal, you're not realizing that this is affecting inflammatory functions in your body. And this is affecting insulin and glucose regulation in your body. And this is affecting your overall longevity. So there's a longevity component, there is a performance component, and there is a cognitive and mood component to optimizing your testosterone. It's far beyond what the layperson would think of, or the way that you just talk about testosterone, you know, during like a cocktail party or something. It's not muscles and sex. It's way, way, way beyond that. And part of the reason that we don't talk about it is one of the most common terms in society is menopause, right? And that's just talking about females. And it's a widely accepted, understood idea that when women have a hormonal change or a hormonal drop off in estrogen, things are going to go crazy. You know, they're going to become more moody. They're going to gain weight. They're going to have hot flashes. They kind of become a different person. The woman accepts it. The husband accepts it. Her kids accept it. Her doctor accepts it. Everyone accepts it. And it's normal. And for a subset of doctors, even hormone replacement is normal. This is all normal. It's widely talked about. The exact same thing happens in men, but it's never talked about. Men lose testosterone, and the exact same thing happens. Libido drops, erectile dysfunction starts, they start to gain weight around their love handles, motivation drops off, they become more agitated, they can't sleep. But for them to go ask their doctor for testosterone is like, whoa, 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 what's going on here? What are you trying to do? Are you, training for a professional match or something?
Right.
So it's a society issue that we need to reverse. There's menopause and then there's menopause. And that's what every single man at some point will face.
Man, it is true. And I didn't, again, same thing. I fought it and didn't realize it until, you and I sat down. But the crazy part is, you're right. So my aches and pains are less that I've been on this, right? Both my knees have been replaced.
Mm-hmm.
So I just have natural aches and pains anyway, right? Old athlete.
Yeah.
But now like that's gotten less. So now that I'm working out more, you still get that workout fatigue in the morning, right?
As you should.
Arms hurts, right?
Yeah.
But I get over that less.
Yeah. So the bounce back and recovery. I mean, listen, it's not a magic pill or injection. And I tell people that all the time. There is short of having like a dramatic body transforming surgery, there's nothing that you could put into your body that's just going to work on its own. So like the metaphor or analogy that I give men during a consultation is like, imagine your grill outside and you have to turn the gas on, but there's no flame yet. There's not a flame until you take the lighter and you light it on the stove, and then you get a flame. So when I put testosterone into your body, that's like opening the hatch to the propane, right? We are ready to go, but you have to meet me halfway. You have to put yourself in the gym, lifting weights 3 to 4 times a week. You have to put the right things into your body that are not going to promote estrogen formation, the right things in your body that are not going to create an inflammatory cascade. And that is the lighter on the stove that's going to ignite the flame, right? So in combination with the substances, supplements, hormones, peptides that I'm giving you, matched with a lifestyle that's not an incredible amount of effort, right? I'm just asking for 3 to 4 days a week in the gym and staying away from the things that we all inherently know are bad for us. And you're going to see dramatic change in the way that you feel. People around you are going to notice a dramatic change. Performance at work, if you're still working, or physical activity, is going to change. Like within 90 days, you are going to look better. You're going to feel better. You're going to be acting better.
Yeah. And it's true. So, but prior to coming to you, I went to a different place, and talked about like losing weight, right? How do I lose weight? And, they guaranteed, well, you'll lose 40 pounds in however much time. But then I looked at what they were doing and I'm like, well, basically I'm just starving.
Correct.
I'm like, that's not sustainable. Like that's just not going to work long term.
Yeah.
Because when I'm done starving in 3 months, I'm going to go back to eating again, and it's going to all come back.
Yeah.
Like we've been down this road of the yo-yo thing.
All the big box places have the money back guarantee for weight loss. Pretty simple. Anybody listening to this, let's say your wedding is in 90 days, you want to lose 15, 20 pounds, find yourself in a caloric deficit, stick to it, you will lose weight. The question is what is happening to your body while you're losing weight? And that's something that you really need to understand. So when you're losing weight, that's like unopposed weight loss based on just a caloric deficit, you are going to be losing anywhere between 30 to 50% lean mass. Lean mass is muscle and bone. When you lose that muscle and bone, it is very difficult to put it back on. So if you're a middle to late aged female and you go to one of these companies, which is their main demographic that's calling them all day, right? And you go and you lose 30 of those pounds, 20 of it, 15 to 20 of those pounds is muscle and bone. And if you're a woman that's like leading into menopause, or you're a guy that's getting a little bit older and you're losing those driving hormones that are keeping your bones really strong, now you put yourself at risk of like a big, large bone fracture. If you're a woman, you're losing that athletic shape because you're losing a ton of muscle. So the downsides are just unbelievable. But these companies do promote a guaranteed weight loss. So it's easy. You know, they're going to have you eating about 800 calories a day, drinking a ton of water, taking stimulants that, you know, raise your metabolic rate. And it's a quick fix, not a long lasting one. They are not focused on longevity. Everything about my programs are not just how you can look your best, but how you can look your best and feel your best throughout the longest life possible. And to me, you know, living to be 100, but being decrepit in a wheelchair where I don't even know my kids' names, that's not living to me. That's simply being alive. Okay. Being alive is having a pulse. That's not living. So
Yeah.
my goal is to live my life as long and healthy as possible. And I have that same goal for my patients.
I love and you do like look and then the first thing we did too that you did was like here's a list of vitamins.
Yeah.
Like, just
Correct.
start taking all these.
Yeah.
Here's the ones you take in the morning. Here's the
Mhm.
ones you take at night.
Correct.
The nighttime ones are like, and again, it's that if I remember to take them at night.
Yeah.
But the night ones,
You'll knock out.
oh man, it's incredible. Like,
You'll knock out.
and I got up at, then I'm up at 5.
Yep.
And I'm just like alert, ready to go.
Yeah.
My wife's like, "What are you doing?" I'm
Yeah.
like, I took the vitamins last
Yeah.
night.
If you do, well, and that's like all things is consistency. So I
Yeah.
tell people all the time, they come into my office, I go, look, I know exactly how to have an 8-pack. I know how to do it. I also know how to save X amount of money a year. It's execution, right?
Yeah.
So I forget all the time, forget to take my supplements. I pay the price. I wake up, I don't feel the same. But consistency is the answer really to all problems. I know you talk a lot of business, real estate, stuff like that. So consistency is kind of the base of all things success, regardless of what you're doing. And this program is really no different. But the reason why I start off with vitamins is, like I said at the beginning, I could put all of these things into your body, but if your body is not performing optimally on its own, it does not matter what hormones, what peptides, or what medications are entering your body. You're not going to absorb them. You're not going to metabolize them appropriately, or sometimes they can even harm you if you have not optimized your health first before starting one of these programs. And that's something that's just not talked about enough. I mean, these are really basic vitamins that I send patients, and they'll be like, what the hell? Like, I've had my doctor for however many years and they have never told me to take any of these. And I'm like,
Yeah.
these are literally, you can just get these down the street. Like, you don't have to get these prescribed. They're literally, some of these are at 7-Eleven. Like,
Yeah.
it's not a complicated thing. It's just, you have to know how to take them, when to take them, what to take together. And, I make no money off that. Like, I
Right.
send everybody links, and they're links to like third-party websites. I've had companies approach me to have like partnerships. I don't want to do any of that. I want to make the least amount of money possible. And you guys should just be doing some of these. I've also had guys that are like, okay, I'm going to try these vitamins and let's check in 3 months before I even start one of your programs. And I'll get an email 3 months later and they're like, hey, I think sleep was the problem. I feel great. I'm like, awesome.
Yeah.
And they never end up becoming a long-term like hormone patient, but I help them. So it's better for them, better for me. And that's it.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. We don't take and again, as entrepreneurs, and we'll talk about that too, but like as entrepreneurs and as salespeople and whatever else, like we don't take our health seriously enough.
Correct.
We just in realtors alone, we just grind. Like that's it. It's we're up at 5, we're back to bed at midnight. It's just this repetitive thing. And so we do pass up a lot of our health.
Correct.
Right. We're eating burgers in the car on the way to another showing.
Yeah.
Right. I got 4 showings today.
It's an unfair trade-off. So, but that's changing.
Yes.
Before we went live, I was telling you I want to do the podcast. So one of my ideas, or like the type of people I want to interview and talk to, very similar to you, are entrepreneurs. But as I put my list together and the age of the entrepreneur decreases, I'm finding that entrepreneurs, very successful entrepreneurs, are taking their health a lot more serious.
Yeah.
And it makes a lot of sense. This is why. I'm 34 years old right now. So I'm in the thick of it, right? So finished med school, residency, and started a business pretty much right away, like the day I finished residency. So the last time I didn't have a 100-hour work week, I don't know. I think I was like in grade school. So, but it's hard. So I'll have month stretches where I am just not taking care of myself. And then it kind of dawns on you like, what's the point, right? You're going to create this legacy in a business, but you're not going to be around to see it. Or if you are around, you're not going to be living appropriately to see it.
Right.
So those things really go in tandem, but that's a normal thing. I mean, I think most men, successful entrepreneurs, pour into everything else but themselves, forgetting that they are kind of like the captain of that ship. So if you're building all these things for your family and you're trying to get into investments and you're building your business, like if I go away for whatever reason, my business is gone in like 6 months.
Right.
And that's something I also need to figure out, right? How do I create this into like a business, not a job? So that's something that I'm working on. But the point is if I'm not good to myself, I'm not good to anybody else, including my business, my investments, my everything like that. So I do think that that is something that's happening. If you go on social media and you see like a lot of these younger entrepreneurs, like 25% of their podcasts or their channel is about health and wellness,
Yeah.
because that is really where the industry and overall, like I think society is going. And I love that personally. It's another thing we were talking about before we went live. People are getting more and more in tune with their health. Usually doctors hate that. Doctors hate like the Google doctors. I love it. If we're doing like yesterday, I had like a liposuction consultation and the lady was just so unfamiliar with any of the technology that I was talking about. I said, you know what? Let's have you come back in a week. And I printed out a bunch of things that I wanted her to research. I didn't print out articles for her, but I just made a Word document of like 10 different things. I said, go on TikTok, go on Real Self, go on all the blogs, go on Reddit, read the good, bad, and ugly, like read the horror stories, and then also read the great ones, and then bring me back questions. Because I want patients to be informed. And I do the same thing with hormones. Like, talk to a buddy that's done it. Find somebody that hated it. Ask why they hated it. I could probably tell you why, but ask them. So I love that people are getting informed. People are taking their health into their own hands. And I think you need to, right?
Yeah.
So just like
100%.
anybody else, your accountant tells you to do something, you usually look into it. I think the same thing should happen with your doctor.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And that is one of the things that I do. And I am see a changing of this. And I think there's more of us Gen Xers too that are trying to fit, like, we're kind of coming around, like, because the problem is like our dads are in their 80s, you know what I mean? And our
Mhm.
dad's like, just suck it up and work 40 hours a week. You know what I
Correct.
mean? Where now we're also realizing that just work 40 hours a week doesn't work either.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we don't have a pension. We don't have all the things that
No.
they had. So us, it's like whatever we're building. And the other thing you bring up too is like your longevity and like their lifestyle. And we're trying to build this business for our kids and
Correct.
our family. But again, if I'm dead at 60,
Serves no purpose.
what's the point?
And no point. Yeah, I mean, I'm like the embodiment of that. My dad passed away when he's 50 or 51, super young, the oldest of three boys.
I'm 51.
Yeah. And now that you and other people in my life, so
Yeah.
I look at like some of my older cousins and I'm like, what the hell? Like that's when he died. Like
Yeah.
they're kids, and so he built this amazing legacy. Thank God, my brothers and I and my mom and everybody was okay. But you look back at it and I'm like, he wasn't a healthy guy. He's a big, fat, jolly dude. He's the best, but he didn't take care of his health.
Right.
And the reason is honestly, he was taking care of everybody around him. He was taking care of his parents. He was taking care of his siblings. He was taking care of, his niece, his nephews. He's taking care of everybody but himself. And I think at the end, like that played a role in, what ended up happening with his health. So I have two boys. I have another one on the way. My dad had three boys. I'm in my 30s. I'm just like prioritizing everything but myself. This is like 3 years ago. So, part of how I got into all this is it's a really long story. But in terms of talking about like entrepreneurs and their health, a week before my first son was born, I was like, I have to go get a life insurance policy. Like what if I like die before I
Yeah.
even become a doctor?
Well, and you had that tragedy in your life. So
Yeah.
that's
So it's real for
Yeah,
me. So
that's
people
real,
are
yeah.
always thinking of like the what if, and I'm like, not what if, like it's likely.
yeah.
It's likely for either me or somebody I know personally. So I went and got a life insurance policy, and I'm a resident. It's the middle of COVID. I'm working like 100 hours a week. I'm not seeing real people. It's the world. You guys remember it's a
Yeah, yeah.
crazy world. So I went and got a life insurance policy, and the guy did it through as like a buddy of mine. He's like, dude, you're fat. He's like, your whole body's fat. Like you have a shit score. And like I was like, what the hell am I doing? Like I'm about to have a kid in a week, and my cholesterol is high, my liver enzymes are high, like I'm pre-diabetic. I was like, this is terrible. Like, what an idiot. Like, how am I a doctor? Like I have no business telling people what to do with their health. Like I'm not doing anything to myself. And yeah, by the time my son was like 3 months old, I had lost like 50 pounds. And I was just annoying everybody in my family about like, get these types of like oils out of your house, like get these cleaning detergents out of your house. Like just honestly, just being very annoying. But instead of like telling them what to do, I was just kind of like educating them again. And then I got my mom on board. You know, my mom got rid of all like the Teflon and plastics out of her house. And so,
Once you get mom on board, it's
yeah,
over.
mom, yeah, getting her on board, it was good. But I've been there, like, you know, I've seen it. And then, but you have to have that realization of like, if I don't make the change now, there's going to be a point where I'm not able to. Like, you don't step in and make the change when you get a cancer diagnosis. You don't step in and make the change when a guy's like, hey, we have to go change a heart valve. Like, it's too late. You physically can't even go to the gym at that point. It's unsafe to go. So you really have to lay the foundation when you're younger. And I do think people my age have a pretty good idea of that, and they care a lot about their health. So I'm happy to see that change.
Yeah. No, it is, and it is true. It's that what again, what are we building for? What are we doing this all
Mhm.
for? And why are we doing it? And we're trying to leave some sort of legacy, right?
Correct.
Like, and if we're not taking care of ourselves, or we're not doing the things we should be doing, then again, it's all for nothing, you know?
Yeah, I mean, but your kids don't want your money; they want you.
Right. And that's the biggest thing, right?
Correct.
We miss that
Yeah.
because we're so driven on.
Yeah,
Well,
like me. I mean, I'm saying all this, but in my head, like,
you're looking at your watch, going, "I got to get to the office."
yeah, no, I mean, always. I always. I mean, I have my phone face down. If I didn't, I mean, at 7 o'clock, my phone just started blowing up. Like, I have 900 unread messages at any time, and if I don't, I'm not going to pick it up this whole hour, and that'll increase by 100. But that's also not healthy, right? So, you know, I work on a lot of things. I talk about a lot of things with my patients because it's not always like hormone related. People could just come to me because they're down and out, and they're just trying to figure it out. Like, they don't feel good mentally, and I'll talk to them about lifestyle things, right? And I try to do this a lot, but like something that I talk about with a lot of people currently, like talking about this with my cousin Mark, that you know, is just like kind of gratitude and positivity. I think mindset is, and this goes to the entrepreneur part of your podcast, but I've had times where I'm not like the most positive person. And then just recently, I had an employee of mine and a patient together in tandem call me toxically optimistic, which is really how I've been for the past like 36 months of my life. I just, no matter what situation, or like, yeah, whatever situation is really I'm put in, I find the light. Like, I have to, because what's the alternative? You know, if you're in a shitty situation and you're just like, yeah, this sucks, and you wallow in it, like, you are going to drown fast. But if you try and you claw and you figure out a way to find like that small glimmer of light, and you just chase towards that and you expand that, you'll just get out of any situation.
Yeah.
So that toxic optimism is kind of what, you know, is a driving factor into kind of like all things I do and find. And I try to give that to patients, talk about gratitude journals, and then I talk about the health component. What are you putting in your body? Like, you have to be very, very, very smart. I mean, I say this as I have like plastic water bottles in front of me, but so
I put those there though. So.
no, it doesn't matter. I do it. It's impossible to remove. Side story: when I had my first son, I literally wanted my son to drink out of glass bottles, like for milk, and the nurse was like, "What are you talking about?" And I was like, "I don't want my son to get exposed to plastic and lose all of his testosterone," and which are real things, but there's diminishing returns. Like, you also have to live a realistic life, so make the healthy choices that you can. But that's what I'll talk to patients about. Like, try to stay away from the pro-inflammatory substances in your body. Like, you shouldn't be out drinking 5-6 days a week. Like, you're never going to mentally or physically feel good making those types of lifestyle choices, right? So I think, like I just keep saying, I think I love that society is moving to a place that they're more health conscious. There's just this study that came out that whatever the generation after me is, I don't know what it is. I'm a millennial. So
It's Gen Z then.
well, yeah, but we only care about ourselves, the millennials. So Gen Z and whatever
I'm Gen X. We don't give a shit about anybody.
correct. But the people that are younger than me are like drinking at an all-time low. They're just
Yeah.
like not into it because they're on TikTok, and a lot of TikTok is health and wellness. And these younger influencers are constantly talking about liver health, gut health, mental health. And we all know that like alcohol and all other substances, for the most part, are just going to drive that to zero. Now, the weekends, like, I enjoy social things and whatnot, but yeah, overall, people are moving in that direction. So that's good stuff.
Yeah.
Health, wellness, positivity, mindset. It's all got to be in tandem to look your best, feel your best. Like, if one of those aspects are at zero, you're not going to be at 100. It's impossible. So focusing on all of it, which is just so different than traditional medicine. Traditional medicine is like, hey, you're here, your cholesterol number's high. Here's a pill. See you in 6 months.
Right.
And it's not like, why? You know, why?
Right.
Like, are you eating, Ben and Jerry's like 3 times a week because you're in a shit spot because you hate your job and you're not trying to like get yourself into a more positive mindset where you want to go to the gym, and going to the gym is a cascade where you're not eating tubs of ice cream. Like it's all in tandem. It's all in correlation with each other, but it's just not the approach that we're taught, and it's not the approach that people take.
Right. Right. Al Dallas said, Dr. Alex is a great man and doctor. I'm so happy for him to where he is now in his career, super educated, experienced, and knowledgeable.
Appreciate that.
um, yeah, and again, like goes back to like the entrepreneur thing. We were talking about that a little bit, and what people don't realize, and we use doctors' analogies all the time, right? Like,
Yeah.
as far as real estate goes and real estate coaching, we say, ask questions like a doctor, because you
Yeah.
don't just go to a doctor with a hurt finger and they give you medicine.
Right.
They go, how did you hurt it? Did you do
Yeah.
this? Did you do that? Does it hurt when you do this? Right? There's a whole bunch of.
Mm-hmm.
So we do the same thing on real estate side, but for you, like you're an entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm.
You're building a business right
Mhm.
now.
Trying,
yeah, you're trying that is scalable.
Mm-hmm.
But again, we talked like it's hard. Like
Very.
now, how do I not work 150 hours a week?
Yeah.
And I want to open a second location. I want to do all these things.
Yeah.
Which sound great.
Mm-hmm.
But then, how do you find that balance? Like,
Wrong guy to ask. I'm trying, but I think I don't know. That's a question I can't answer. I have no balance. Man, I wish I had saved it, but I had seen somebody say the other day like they don't have a balance, so they blend. So it was a doctor. It was a doctor that I look up to actually, but I'm probably gonna quote it wrong, so I'm not gonna say who it is. But he was like, it's impossible for me to balance my life. Like, there's no such thing as a work-life balance. I'm in the operating room 6 hours. This is him talking. He's like, I'm in the operating room like 6 hours a day. I have admin stuff 3 hours a day. I have this. He's like, so I basically just blended my work and my life, and that's kind of something that I do. So I have friends that work for me. I have employees that have become friends. So work has become partially social, which is good because you need an outlet at work. You can't just be like locked in, super serious. So that's good. So when I'm at work, it's like not that tense. I have really awesome employees. Secondly, a lot of my patients become friends, right? Because luckily in my office, we're talking about like fun, cool stuff. And one of the first things I do is when people come in, I'm like, what's up? Like, tell me about your life. What do you do? Where are you from? How'd you find me? And I get to meet really cool people all day. And I also have an office that an aspect my wife loves to come get services. So my wife or my mom or my brothers or my cousins one of them is in my office a few times a week. I usually have a family member in there every day. And I have my wife once or twice a week bring my kids to the office and we'll go grab lunch. So I don't think there's a balance. I think there's a blend. That's it. And like I was talking in my house, I'm going to put like a podcast studio in the office and try to get away during those days that I will stay home, but I don't know how to balance one day.
No, I think you're right though. I think that there is a blend.
Yeah, that's the way.
I think that's the only way. Like I have a 20-year-old and a 13-year-old. My 20 years away, he's away at school. My 13-year-old, I mean, obviously he's still at home, but I include him with like he's gone on showings with me.
Yeah,
that's
the way.
Yeah, like just roll with me. I gotta go, man. So you can just go with me, or and that was when he was like years ago. That was 6, 7 years old. He was on showings with me.
Why not?
And so now he's like now he gets more interested in it. Now he's more interested in the business. He's more interested in like how do you do these things, and I explain things to them financially a lot different than things were ever explained to me.
Oh yeah, that's like I mean that's like for people that are raising kids now, I think you guys know more than ever, and then the younger generation like myself knows like this like financial literacy has to be something that is talked about early and often.
Yeah.
I was raised very well, and luckily this is something that was talked about a lot in my household. But even when I'll be talking, and that's probably like what's helped me where I'm at, and my whole family is just very entrepreneurial, and so with that is things like that are discussed. But I mean, how little people know, it just like blows my mind. I mean, we can go on so many tangents, but like, you don't learn about taxes in school. You don't learn about like real estate in school. You don't learn about, I think every American should have a real estate license. And then people will be like, why? And I go, every single American at some point in their life, no matter what, unless you're born and live your whole life and die in homelessness, will at some point engage in a real estate contract. That could be an apartment lease. That could be purchasing a home. That could be selling a home. And you would never go sign a contract without talking to a lawyer. But every single American engages in this contract, and they have a real estate agent that helps them with it. But they're engaging in probably like 10 real estate transactions throughout their whole life. Even if you're just renting your whole life, you renew your lease every 5 years or whatever it is. So like that's something that should be taught. Taxes should be taught, how to balance a checkbook. Even though we don't do that anymore, it should be taught, but just so you manage your finances and whatnot. So I don't even know how we talked about that, but I think
Well, no, but you're right. Like, and I think there is a shift. I think there has been a shift of
yeah,
health and wellness along with wealth, right? Like health,
yeah.
wealth, wellness. Like those are all things that I think kind of coincide, and I think that's a blend.
Well, one without the other is pointless. Being healthy forever and being able to live to 99, but not being able to afford like a house payment,
Yeah.
pretty pointless. And then being wealthy, but dying when you're 50, also kind of pointless. We have really, really, really amazing scientists and technology and ways that we have people that legitimately are coming out with ways that we can live to be like 120. There is one of the earliest people that I followed and kind of influenced what I did very early on in medical school is this guy named David Sinclair. And then there's another guy named Peter Attia. So these are two people that have like influenced my philosophy in medicine. And the guy, David Sinclair, he's a geneticist out of Harvard. He legitimately believes there are ways, supplements, lifestyle changes that we can make to live a very healthy life to 120. So that being said, your lifespan, your health span, you should be aiming for 100. So dying at 50 is like, oh my gosh.
You're only halfway there.
Halfway. That's crazy. I'm 34 years old. That means I have 16 years. Like, no, absolutely not. And for me, like I said, that's reality. It's when my dad died. So, gotta do the things. But health without wealth, pointless. Wealth without health, pointless. So it's all.
And
gotta
how
be together.
fast did these 34 years go?
What? What do you mean? I'm still.
You know what I mean?
I can't believe I have a kid. Like I am a kid.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's
See,
wild.
Yeah, mentally, I'm 28.
28.
Like I'm stuck at 28.
28 is a great
mentally.
age. Yeah.
Yeah, like mentally, I'm stuck at 28.
Yeah.
I don't know why. Like in my head, though,
Why
I'm
not?
51, but like mentally, I'm 28. Like that's where I stay stuck. Maybe it's just my immaturity. I don't know.
No, it's good. Stay young. Oh my gosh. Like I told you, hours is too quick. So they came out with another study. So women that have children at or above the age of 40 have an increased longevity or lifespan of like, I forget how many years. Let's just say 5 or 10 years or whatever. And a big component of that is that they're forced to mentally stay young and active. Okay. So they're 40 and they have this newborn. They're like they got to chase this kid around for the next 20 years. Right. Versus the woman that has a kid at 25 takes her to 45 and her kid's off to college and she's like in retirement. Right.
Yeah.
So mentality is the other component to all of this. It's going to keep you feeling young, acting young. So, you got to live your life. You can't, if you just like, if you're like, I'm 50, let me just go lay down and watch TV all day. Like you're going to fall. It's just like those people that you see that have had a super active lifestyle in terms of work. Like the guy that runs a business, sells his business at 65 and then just golfs all day or just does, you'll see like a huge drop off in their mentality, in their cognition, their memory, how quick they are. That is not good. So I could be a billionaire. I will still work and I will still work very hard. Like I want to problem solve every single day. I need the wheels to turn. I need challenges every single day, even if there was not a financial component to it, because my brain is a muscle. So I have to challenge it daily. I mean, I'm not a fan of true what we think of retirement as like riding off into the sunset. I mean, you're going to ride till it's not going to be that long of a ride.
Right.
Right. So no, you should be active in every which way, physically, mentally, constantly challenging yourself. You have to. If you're not, you're just going to become stagnant. Stagnant is stale and sloppy, and it's not the way.
Yeah. Jeffrey Garner said, I need to get in touch with this guy. This is gold. And we'll get to that.
Yeah. Excited to meet you all.
All that. And so you're right. And I feel the same way about like retirement, right? Like there's this air quote. And someone asked me a long time ago, like, if you won the lotto, like I go, I would. So, because I coached high school basketball for 25 years, right? Like basketball is my jam.
That's great. Coaching is great.
Oh, I love it. But that's what I would do. I wouldn't be retired. I would just I'd coach basketball every day.
That is hard work.
Yeah, that would just be.
I was at my little cousin's basketball game the other day, and I said, I was talking to my cousin, and I was like, do you know how crazy that is to me? Like, you call a timeout, and you have 15 seconds, and you have to figure out the right phrase to tell your team that is going to just go out and create a pivotal shift. I would freeze up, but that's not my skill. It's not what I do, So it's a crazy thing about coaching. I think coaching, like if you have all the money in the world and if you could do it for your kids, it's great. But I think coaching is awesome. You get to be a leader of men or women. You get to be such an impact in their lives. Some of my coaches, I played sports my whole life, 24/7. some of the biggest impacts in my life were my coaches. And like, I'm not a professional athlete, but I just think if you have a child, put them in sports, put them in really, really, really hard sports. And that is just going to, or, an activity that's just mentally or physically grueling where they have to look at their peers and they got to just go through some shit together. And, sometimes they hate their coach, but usually coaches, if you have a good coach, they're reinforcing what your parents are telling you at home. Right? Which is good. It's really good to hear that from somebody else because nobody wants to listen to their parents. But now when your football coach is telling you the exact same thing your dad is telling you at home, you're like, damn, all these guys are wrong? Probably not. So yeah, I love coaching. Coaching is something I would love to be able to do well. But yeah, that's not retirement. That's hard work.
Yeah, right. So it's one of the funny things you bring that up. So because my 13-year-old, he plays basketball and whatever. So like, but he goes to like a trainer and does all this stuff, right? But then he'll come home and say, Dad, they told me to do this. I'm like, I've been telling you that.
Correct.
Like, buddy, you realize what I do, right?
Yeah. No, I know.
But you got that second enforcement. But again, it goes back to being a doctor, right?
Yeah.
And how do I get that second enforcement? I know what I should be doing. I know I should be eating better. I know I should be working. I know all these things. But then it goes back to that accountability. Like I come see you and you're like, hey, your numbers are
like this guy that just said he's excited to see me. I'm also excited to see you, but I also open up a lot of my consultations by saying, I'm not going to wow you. Like you are just going to hear a lot of what you've been hearing. I just might be able to explain why it's so important. So like everyone's like, go to the gym. I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to tell you how that's seriously like at a very, very, very basic level going to bite you in the ass later if you don't. But yeah, it's just reinforcement. It's executing what we already know. I think that's like the key to all things, to entrepreneurship, business, mental health, all of it is executing what we already know we should be doing.
Yeah. And so then we had another question come in. It said, you offer injected testosterone supplements and oral supplements.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
My menu
I'm a
is like,
testament.
my menu is like miles long. So we can get a little bit into that part of the business, or what it is that we do. So basically you will come in, before you come in, you'll reach out to my office and one of my assistants will set you up with a lab panel, as you know. And I have an account with different lab companies where basically anywhere in the United States at any time you could set up your own lab. I have patients basically in all 50 states at this point. So you'll go in, you'll get a lab panel, and it'll take about a week to process. That lab will come to me. We'll set up an in-person or virtual consultation. We'll go through all these labs. Half of these labs are very similar to what you'd get at a primary care appointment. And then the other half are labs that you've never seen before. We'll look at your hormone panels, but we'll also look at precursors that might be vitamin indeficiencies or, things that have happened along the way that are making it impossible for you to create an optimal level of hormones. At that point, we will optimize your lifestyle. So we'll just talk about really basic things that we talked about on this podcast. We'll make sure that your vitamins are also optimized at home. And then we'll talk about ways to optimize your hormones. And for men, that's usually restoring testosterone levels. My favorite way to do that is with injections. A lot of people will see pellets. I personally don't like using that. And that's a conversation I have with patients about why. But injections are super easy. We go through that. I always start my patients at a pretty low dose. And I tell them that at the beginning, it's a little bit of a journey. We're going to start at a low dose. These are some things you could expect somewhere around the 3-month range. We're going to do another lab panel. We're going to make some adjustments. We're going to tweak. We're going to optimize. And then we get you to kind of to a steady state. That's when we get to have a lot more fun with things like peptides. Peptides also could be injections. They could be oral. But peptides, for the most part, are how you take yourself to that next level of feeling and looking better. And we could do those short-term, long-term. Those are a little bit more goal-oriented. I have this triathlon coming up. I have a vacation coming up. I have, I really want to get in great shape for my daughter's wedding, something like that. And I have all of it. They're fun. I mean, right before we got on the podcast, I took this nasal spray. Yeah. I told you I'd tell you about it. So one of my favorite substances that I give people is something that's called NAD. This is a coenzyme that is basically like a fuel for the currency in your body. Without getting too like in the weeds, this basically fuels all the cells that are responsible for energy in your body. This is something that I will take daily or every other day as an injection. But on an as needed basis, I'll take the nasal spray that I took, so right before I walk into like a liposuction procedure, I'll take the nasal spray. It's almost like a cognitive enhancement booster for the next 2 to 4 hours. A lot of fun. And then I just keep this in my body regularly with injections. And I tell people all the time, I'm basically like Superman at this point. And if you were to ask like my wife or my cousins or my employees, they will be like, this man does not stop. I mean, but I can't. It's unfair. Back to like what we were talking about for my kids. Like after a 10-hour workday, I might be operating like 8 of those hours and seeing patients back to back to back. That's really unfair to give myself completing my patients and then be like exhausted for my boys
Yeah.
when I get home. So when I get home, I have 2 hours of craziness with these 2 boys before they go to bed. My goal, I've said this since before I had kids, is like my kids will never tire me out. Like my job is always tire them out. So I'll chase them around, I'll run with them, I'll throw them around, and they need to be like exhausted going to bed, not me. That's unfair to them. You know, I can't pour myself into my patients and not my family. But I have like a whole array of substances, peptides, hormones. I mean, you could have as much fun with it as you want, but it's from a really, really, really healthy way. So, I'm doing lab tests more than anybody in the country.
Yeah.
And like I'll tell the listeners this too. I make no money off of this. Like this is not the way to scale my business, but this is my passion. I make money doing other things, thank God. But like the regenerative part of my business does not make me money. The margins are just not there. I'd have to manage like 10,000 patients to get rich off doing this. But you know, the few hundred people that we have on these programs, I don't think I've ever had anybody stop. You know,
Right.
for weight loss, we've had 5,000 people throughout the country that have done weight
Okay.
loss with me. Um, and but for the hormones and regenerative, you know, they love it. They feel good. And
Yeah.
word of mouth is my biggest referral. I haven't spent a single dollar on paid advertisement. I don't want it. I want somebody to be like, hey, Jimmy told me to come in. Ben told me to come in. This
Right.
guy looks great. Or I have people that come in and they didn't hear from a person, but they saw somebody and they're like, hey, I know so and so comes to you. What the hell is he doing?
Right.
He looks great. And while I can't talk about that, I'm like, I don't know what he's doing. But these are the things that I offer. Let's
Right.
talk about them.
Right.
So
And Al said I had a third child at 46. I'm now 50, and yes, he's keeping all my family super young. He said my older kids are 23 and 18. So
Love
Al's
that.
a 23, 18, and 4-year-old.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. The 4-year-old is gonna help you reach 100 years old, very healthy and young, my friend.
Oh man, and I tell you, it is. You brought up some really good stuff there, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
again, going back to like, how can I just help people, right? How can
Mm-hmm.
I get more people? And when people do come to you, everybody's different too.
Yeah.
I think that's what people don't understand either. And I had somebody ask me, I was telling somebody about what I'm doing and the testosterone that I'm on and all the things. They're like, "You're taking steroids?"
Yeah.
No, I'm not taking steroids. Like,
Well, you are.
well, I am, but like in their mind, it was like the Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Arnold
steroids, you know
Schwarzenegger,
what I
yeah.
mean? Like that I'm gonna be this
You're
big.
gonna
I'm like,
freaking throw your kid out of the window.
yeah,
So that's like another thing. These are all steroids.
yeah,
Cholesterol is a steroid. That's what people don't understand. So a steroid is just like a crazy term, but these guys that you'll like hear about, you know, these like NFL players or bodybuilders that are doing these insane things that they attribute to steroids. I know your dose because I'm your doctor, but
Yeah.
like they are taking 10 times your dose on a weekly basis. So they are not the same. When the way that I dose somebody is I'm trying to get you to what your levels once were. And while I don't know that because I didn't know you when you were 27 or 28, I can assume because I know averages. But what I did for myself is I knew I was going to do this basically from my second year in medical school. I started testing my hormones when I was 25. Okay. 24, 25, I think, or around there was my first ever hormone panel. And my testosterone went up 25 to 26, 27 to 28. My testosterone actually was increasing. 28 to 29, it was pretty much plateaued, but I felt great. I was like walking around with a six pack at all times. And 29 to 30, I was a resident, pretty much the same, maybe like slight drop off. 30 to 31, I had seen like a 15% decrease, but there's also lifestyle factors. I was also gaining weight. I was working 100 hours a week during COVID, not taking care of myself. So I was like, okay, this is probably lifestyle attributed. Let me like try to bounce back a little bit. And then I did, but I noticed that hormone levels did not really increase. I started testosterone at 31 and a half, right before my 32nd birthday. And mind you, 32-year-old taking testosterone is a lot different than you. I was taking like a droplet. And my goal was to restore my own testosterone levels to where I was at when I was 28.
right,
Because I know Alex's body, my skeleton, my heart, my physiology was comfortable and performed really great at this level. Now, I don't have those levels for everybody else, right? So I kind of get you to these averages, and you and I have talked about like my own reference range of you should be around between here to here. But I also correlate clinically. I'll never chase a number. You know, if you're below my reference range, but you're telling me, hey, man, I've never felt more clear, more alive, more energized, then we're good. That's like the biggest issue I have with medicine is like they're always chasing these numbers, but they're not talking to the patient. Patient is telling you he or she feels amazing, but you just have this goal number. Now, sometimes that matters, right? If your cholesterol is 1,000, you should probably get into it even though you don't feel bad.
Right.
But some of them really don't make sense. And hormones is one of those areas. I can guarantee to any listener, if you're a guy, go ask your doctor, your primary care doctor, for a testosterone panel. I'll make a bet with any of you guys. They will tell you you're normal because you are normal, but that's a flaw in the system. The reference range for testosterone in America is 250 to 1100, depending on the lab. The problem is that they have the same reference range for a 15-year-old male to a 95-year-old male. Let's think about the difference there. A 15-year-old male is thinking about one thing all day. The 95-year-old is also thinking about one thing all day. But that one thing that the 95-year-old is thinking about all day is, man, I really hope I'm alive tomorrow.
Right.
So there is no reason that those two people should have the same reference range of testosterone. That is insane, but they do. So if a 95-year-old and a 15-year-old go to get a blood test, they are both going to be deemed normal for the most part. Okay. That is not right. So I have my own ranges of what is optimal and good and normal. And we try to get you in those ranges. But ideally, I want you to be physiologically normal. I want Jimmy to be at the testosterone level that 28-year-old Jimmy was. And then we could probably push back all the ailments that come with age, right? With age, you gain weight. And that's probably because of lack of motivation and testosterone. And when you gain that weight, your blood pressure goes up, your cholesterol goes up, you become insulin resistant. So you might be pre or diabetic. And there you go. Now you have 3 or 4 medications on your shelf that you weren't taking a decade ago. Where if you never lost that testosterone and you maintain a healthy lifestyle, going to the gym, and you didn't gain those 30 pounds that most or a lot of men do between 30 and 60, did you get diabetes? Did you get cholesterol? Did you get blood pressure? Probably not. Okay. So I am a doctor, but I literally hate medications. Like I hate them. There's a time and place for everything. You know, some of my patients, I will put on a cholesterol medication. Some of my patients, I will say you should probably go talk to your primary care. You might need an antidepressant. But I will do everything in my power for myself, my wife, my kids to like really not take. I mean, I got in a little bit of trouble because like I really pushed off like an antibiotic for one of my kids and they had a full blown ear infection. But, you know, I try not to like, I never take it too far with my patients, but I do prescribe a lot of things. But these are things that you, for the most part, were naturally born with.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think one of the things that we talk about this all the time, and as far as coaching, and again, you know, motivational, and we talk about putting the oxygen mask on first. Like, you know, when you're on the airplane, that's what they always say.
Yeah, be selfish.
But we never are, right?
No.
We're always grinding for everything else, and we're looking at the next thing.
Yeah.
But again, without taking care of yourself, and you know, we're on this journey together. Now you've seen where I'm going, right? And again, it hasn't been a miracle.
No, it won't
of
be.
like, well, but I'm down.
You're also early.
Yeah, and I'm down 10 pounds.
Yeah.
Now, is that from the testosterone or is that from like I changed my diet?
Who cares?
Right. Doesn't matter.
You know, either way, you're being
right.
you are healthier, right? So and like I said, I mean it's a combination of all of it. And like I said, you're also early. So part of the program is like those first 6 to 9 months are tweaking and optimizing.
Yeah.
But we will get you there. Majority of people by the 3 to 6 month range are good to go. And at 6 months, you'll know what's up. I mean, you will know what the next decade or however long that you maintain this therapy for, what it's going to look like in terms of how you take the medications, how you feel on the medications, ways that you can personally improve the medications, right? Like what can you do on your own to almost make this medication be more beneficial to you? So it's a lot of fun, but it takes participation from the patient. It's not a magic pill. So if you're looking for that, I mean, there are doctors that'll give it to you, but you're just not going to enjoy my program that much. Like it's not going to do that much for you.
Yeah. But yours is more natural, right? Like I said, the first thing you did was like, here's a bunch of vitamins.
Mm-hmm.
Just start taking these.
Yeah.
You know, let's see if we can get you off some of your cholesterol medicine. Let's see if we can get you off some of that medication and just put you on this. Start taking fish oil, like all 100%, the things. Right? Yeah. Instead of doing all the just here's another prescription.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, there's a time and place for everything in the world, right? But I want to make sure that we're checking all the boxes before we get there. And that's very different than what my training was. and I'll talk about how I got into this, but um, I'm going through med school, and the first 2 years are pretty cookie cutter for every doctor, and then you get into these clinical rotations, and you go work with like primary care, urologist, cardiologist, so on and so forth. My very first rotation was with this plastic surgeon in Chicago, this old guy, crazy guy, love him now. But like he was doing hormone therapy. And I was like, man, this guy is going to lose his license and go to jail because all you're taught in medical school is testosterone makes guys crazy and kills them. Like literally, testosterone is like a bad word in medical school. And this guy just has and he's in the greater Chicago area. And I'm saying like he's seeing 50, 60 people a day. I'm 4 weeks into the rotation. We've done one surgery. I'm like, what the hell is going on? Like, this is a plastic surgery rotation. And at the time, I was interested in plastics. So I was like, this sucks. And then finished the rotation. And I was like, man, that was a waste of time. Then my next rotation was internal medicine, where I'm also seeing like 40 people a day, average age 55. 30 of these 40 people every single day are telling this internist, hey, I'm gaining weight. I have aches and pains. I'm feeling down. I'm not sleeping. I'm not having sex. Blah, 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 blah. All these age-related ailments. And this lady, there's a guy and girl in the practice, literally would just attribute everything to age and just be like, but your labs are normal. You're doing good. See you in a year. And they would not address anything. So I'm sitting in the corner and I'm like, wait, that other guy would always be like, we can do this. Let's test this. Have you tried this vitamin? Have you tried this supplement? I need you to, try this like IV therapy, this red light therapy, this ozone therapy. And then these people are coming back 3 months later and they're hugging him. They're bringing him like these huge gift baskets. And I'm like, I don't care about the gifts, but I'm like, these patients like love this doctor. Yeah. And by the way, patients hate doctors. I know. But they will love a doctor that has an impact, right?
Yeah.
So then I had emailed him and I said, Dr. Zach, can I do another rotation with you? And he was like, really? Because he knew, like, I was just like, can we do surgery? Can I go in with somebody else? Can I watch them? He's like, no, come to clinic. Like, trust me, you should be listening to this. And he's like, really? And I was like, yeah. And I kind of had like a backdoor way of doing another 8-week rotation with him. And I was like, can you send me everything I need to read and learn before this rotation? And he had sent me a bunch of books and like societies I could join that would teach me about regenerative and anti-aging. And I was like obsessed. Literally, I was just listening to podcasts. I was reading. I mean, I was in rotations with other like specialties, my 60 hours a week. And then I would put in another 20 to 30 hours a week, like psychotically obsessed, reading about things that were just opposing everything I was taught in med school. And then I went and done another 8 weeks with him. And that is when I was like, all right, this is what
tipping point.
Yeah. I told him, I was like, how do I do this? He's like, I don't really know. This is not a field of medicine. He's like, there's no residency for it. There's no real training. Like it's all has to be self-taught, certified, like whatever. So then I basically self-created the next like whole year of my medical training with doctors all over the country that were doing this. So I was in Atlanta with these OBGYNs, these two guys, but 75% of their practice was treating postmenopausal symptoms in women. So I got a ton of experience there. I had been in Atlanta, Georgia, and same thing. I was with this med pediatrician lady. It was supposed to be a pediatrics rotation, but she also saw adults. And the adult part of her practice was also anti-aging and regenerative medicine. So I'd found these doctors all over the country and I would email them. I'd be like, hey, I'm a med student at so-and-so. If you fill out this form with my school, I think they pay you like $600 a month or whatever the school pays them. Can I come rotate with you? Like I'll pay you more out of pocket. And none of them charged me. They're really great people. And I'm like Facebook friends with all of them still, really great people. But I had to seek all of this information out. But again, whenever I was in my traditional rotations, like a family medicine rotation, internal medicine, urology, anything like that, age-related symptoms, the patient was just given a nice pat on the back. See you in a year because your labs are normal. Don't worry about it, Jimmy. 50 years old, not supposed to have that much sex. Not supposed to feel that good going to the gym. When you take that trip to Hawaii, you've been saving up for it all year. You're probably not going to be able to go on that hike because you're 50, but that does not. And to me, I was like, man, if I was that patient, I would be pissed. That's, 50 is young.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to be told that you're supposed to like have this decrepit lifestyle because you're 50 years old. That did not resonate with me. So I saw that from the patient's perspective. And I was like, F that. Like there is not a chance that I'll be like this wealthy 55-year-old guy, and I go to my doctor and I'm like, hey, I finally got all this money. My wife and I want to go to Aruba, and I want to be super sexually active the whole time, and I want to hike, and I want to look good sitting out by the pool. And the doctor's like, yeah, no, take this cholesterol pill though, so you don't die in 50 years.
Right.
I'm like, what? No. So that
That's
was
where
it.
I was at.
Yeah, and that's where everybody's at.
Yeah.
Now, when I was in residency, I was like, no, villain. Like, did not like me. I was like prescribing testosterone to guys. I was prescribing like more natural ways of like weight loss to my patients, my attendings. I was like not a liked or appreciated individual. Fast forward to today, some of those doctors that were like not fans of me are my patients. So like it's come very full, and they're awesome, by the way. Doctors that will like disagree with the way that I practice, it's just, that is literally our training. I have like a natural, I don't know, that's not a good thing. I have like a natural defiant-ish personality just to like look on the other side. Like
It runs in your family.
it runs, yeah. I need to know like what's on the other side. I have to. Like if somebody were to tell me like, do not open that door, do not open that door, do not open that door, there's a 100% chance I'm opening that door because I just have to know. I'm not saying that I'll agree with what's on the other side, but I have to know. I have to. So like whatever argument's out, like if you're pro-vaccine, anti-vaccine, I need to hear the smartest person plead their case on both sides. I have to. I just have to be an informed individual. And that's like not a common thing. And it does take a lot of work, and it's super annoying because I still do that. But for me, when I looked at all the evidence, all the data, and I spoke to patients that have been on both sides of the fence, either those that are in their 50s or 60s untreated versus those that are in their 50s and 60s treated, I think the evidence is super obvious of like what needs to happen for people to look and feel their best.
Yeah. Yeah. So we got a couple conferences, said great information. Thanks for sharing. And then Al Dalla came back and said, Alex has blown us away with knowledge. One of my best shows. So thanks, Al.
Al's great people.
Al is great people.
Al is like probably that guy's not gonna age.
No, Al looks the same. Like I've known.
I think Al's gonna be 35 for the next 7 years.
Well, we got about 4 minutes left. Where can everybody find you?
Yeah.
What can they do to get a hold of you? And then I'll also go. So you guys know I will go back in the Facebook post and we'll put Alex's information in there too. So
yeah, my Instagram is super informative. Right now it's a little bit more on the aesthetic side than the hormone side, but I have multiple pages. So my Instagram is at Dr. Alex Zayid, Dr.Alex Zayid, and my business is called Icon Anti-Aging. It's located in Birmingham, Michigan, but I see patients in all 50 states right now virtually. My hormone page, if you want to talk about like health wellness, is Icon Protocol. That's ICON PROTOCOL. And that's where we talk about all the hormones and peptides and weight loss programs that we offer at the practice. And my actual just practice name and business page on Instagram is Icon Anti-Aging, ICONANTIAGING. On there, we always talk about ways that people can kind of like join the practice. So it's pretty basic. Like I said, you sign up, you pay like a consult fee, which is basically just what the labs cost. It's a non-insurance practice, by the way. So it's all just cash, but it's super affordable. Our programs are basically like $150 a month, and that's all encompassing. That's unlimited office visits. Patients have a way to text me directly. You can email me. I get back to people pretty quick. And if I don't, we have like weekly huddles with my team and my meetings or my team members. And that $150, that's medications. That's all the supplies that you would ever need. That's all the labs that you would need. That's all the office visits that you need. And it's all encompassing. Like I said, it's pretty affordable. No one's getting rich off of it, but it's a really fun way for me to meet cool people. You know, I was able to meet you.
Looks like you're gonna have a lot more.
Yeah, maybe. No, I mean, I love my job. I'm super lucky, man. I think I have the coolest job in the world. I have really cool patients. I have the ability to help people. So thank God a million times. It's a really cool life that I'm living.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
No, man, thanks for coming on. I appreciate it. I know everybody on here appreciates it. I really appreciate you.
Yeah, man.
It's been life changing.
It'll get better. Let's do this in 6 months.
Let's do it.
And you'll be able to tell them a little bit more.
We'll do it. 6 months from now, we'll be back. All right, guys, appreciate it. Thanks for the Elite Real Estate Podcast, KGCI Radio. Everybody that's out there watching right now, we will talk to you all next Friday.
Break it
There
down,
we
the
go.
sequel, those who
Boom.
dance and leave in the city of giants. Colorblind, just